let's say when you open a particular calculator, you have a keypad in front of you, and let's say you do 1 plus 2, right? And then you, so what you do here is that you press 1, then you press this sign, then you press 2, and then you press equal to, and that is what you get as 3, right? Now, what happens here is that we won't be explaining these arithmetic like equations line by line. What calculator does is, calculator already has a predefined understanding of what this plus sign does, what a minus sign does, what a star does, what a division does, what a modulus does. The calculator knows it. What is the variable thing here is the input given by the user and the command which is given by the user. These two things are the variable things that the user gives. Okay, Python doesn't know that you want to enter 100, or Python doesn't know that you want to subtract 200 and 100, and whether you want to subtract or multiply it, that is also not that is what Python doesn't know. That is a user defined thing. So what we will be doing here is that we will be creating a very basic calculator which consists of only 4 arithmetic equations, that is addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And to optimize the functioning of our calculator, what we will be doing is we will be creating functions, a general functions like y equals to fx format type of function, whereby the basic understanding Python has, okay, that if user says do addition, I have to call the add function, and there will be 2 variables given by the user. I have to add both of them together, and this will be the result that the user wants, right? So in that way, we have to build 4 basic functions, one for addition, one for each arithmetic operations. We will be giving the numbers of variables which will be user defined, as well as the choice will also be user defined, whether user wants to add or subtract or multiply or divide, whatever it is. Okay, is it clear with now? Is it clear what we are going to do?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's say first we want to define a function for my addition. So what I'll do is I'll write def, and then I'll write just add. Okay. Now my addition will depend on 2 parameters. Now what we are doing is we are building a calculator which will only take 2 inputs now. Like now basically what happens is in a calculator you can take n number of inputs, but because we are building a very basic calculator, we'll just take 2 inputs, basic 2 inputs. So what I can do is I will say that my add the let's write it in the form of addition. So my addition function basically depends on 2 parameters. Let's say describe the 2 parameters as well, that is x and y. So what this means is I have defined my first function addition, and this addition function is basically dependent on 2 variables x and y, which will be provided by the user itself. And then what exactly I want my addition function to give me. So I want that whatever variable input the user has given to the Python, I want my addition function to return me the sum of these 2 values. So what I'll say, I'll write return x plus y. So when Python will call this particular function, what it will does is it will understand that, okay, so now what happens is, let's say if you have given just one number and you want to add it, this function won't work properly because this function is actually dependent on 2 variables. So in order to access this particular function here, you have to define 2 numbers because this function is dependent on these 2 variables. And once you provide these 2 variables, the value of these 2 variables, Python understands that, okay, this is a particular function. The user has also given me these 2 values or defined the value of these 2 variables. What user want is the return of this function. So this function, what it will return the addition of these 2 numbers, right? Is this clear how the return and the parameter thing happened here?
So I have a doubt. Are we supposed to specify if it's going to be an integer type number or a float type number? Because then we'll have to make sure that they don't add characters as such, na? So
right. So what we can do is we can just write a float. We'll use float. Why?
Okay.
Because if you write 2 or if you write 2.0, both are the same thing. Like mathematically, both are same things, right? It is just for Python, we are saying that if it's 0.0 to 2.0, it is a float thing or it is an integer thing. But for us, we know that there is no difference between 2 and 2.0. Right?
Okay.
So for that, what we'll do is we'll just write float 1 only, so as to be on the safer side. That if a user also inputs a decimal number, then it will give you an output. Because if we keep on the value just integer, then the calculator won't give you the decimal operation for a particular number, right? So that's why to be on safer side, we just use the float 1. So in the same way, we also define like other functions. Let's say I write define subtraction. Similarly, it will be also be dependent on x and y. And it will return me x minus y. Similarly, I'll write define mult for multiplication. It will also depend on x and y, and it will return me x times y. And similarly, I will write divide. It will dependent on x and y, and then just return me x divided by y. So now what I have done is I have defined each of these definitions, each of these functions for my calculator, that these are the basic 4 functions that my calculator has to perform. Now what I want is I want my program to run in such a way that first it will ask the user to select a particular operation, and it will give a list of operations to the user, saying that okay, the first operation is addition, second is subtraction, third is multiplication, fourth is division. So what I can do is I'll just write print select operation, and then I'll just say, so this will also be like printed as it is. So add, then print subtract mult and div. So these will be printed as it is. So what output will be? Output will say select operation. These are the 4 operations. Now what we want is we want the user to give a particular choice between among these 4 choices. So now what we can do is we can first we'll start off from a while loop. Now you can ignore the while loop. Why I'm using a while loop is because I want my calculator to keep on repeating the whatever operation, arithmetic operation the user has. It won't break it. So I'll also show you how to break the condition there, and how you can keep on continuing adding or subtracting whatever number it is. So for that, what I'll use is I'll write while, and we will be using another inbuilt function in Python which says true. Now what true means is, so this is a basic condition for while. That is, this can be included in a parenthesis, or if you don't want to include it in a parenthesis, it's totally fine. What true basically means is it considers everything is true, right? So you say that okay, while everything is true, do these particular things. You're not giving the calculator any initial conditions, because whatever condition you want to define, you have to define it for individual functions, for add or for subtract or for multiply or for divide. So what you're doing is you want to run the loop, but initially you want everything to be true, because before this you haven't given any particular condition that if this happens, then this will happen, or if the user gives this input, this will happen, right? So what I do is I'll just write while true. That means considering everything is true, then I'll start defining everything. So let's say I define a variable as choice, which is basically the input that the user will give. So I will write input, and here I will write enter choice that is given by the user. And let's say it can be anything between, let's say 1/2/3/4. So these are the choices which will be provided by user. So this will be printed as it is, and because it is input, then user will give a particular input choice to the calculator. So now this is done. Now what I can do is, now my operation, arithmetic operation, will depend upon the choice that the user has given. So what I'll do is I'll run an if loop, but consisting of choices, because whatever operation that my calculator will do, it will always be dependent upon the arithmetic operation that the user wants. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll write if choice in. Now what I'm doing here is I'm saying that if whatever choice the user has given, if that choice is in 1, 2, 3, and 4. If the choices is in between 1, 2, 3, and 4, the choices that we have already defined here, that is addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. If the user choice, the input that user has given, if that choice is in these 4 choices, then what it will do is we have to define 2 numbers here. Let's say we define number A, and we write it as float, because we have to give it a particular, we are not using integer, we will be using float. So we have write float, and we will write input because we want user to give those 2 numbers, right? And what we will write input here is let's say enter first number. This is my first input. Let's say I have defined another number. Again, I have given it as float input, and I'll say enter second number. This will be my thing that the user will run. Now what I will do is, now the user has given 2 values. Okay. Now what happens is, first I have calculated a choice. First I have given a choice, whatever choice the user wants. And then I've given a condition that if the choice which is given by the user, if that choice is in between the choices that we have already given the user here, 1, 2, 3, and 4, then define two values. That is, these will be the input values that the user has to define. So first, it will what will happen is the calculator will first open up. It will ask the user to give any choices, select any choices. Let's say I select 1, that is I want to add. The Python understands, okay, user want to add. Now what it will ask is give the two numbers. So for that I have to give an input function so that user can define two numbers. Now when user defines these two numbers, then I want my calculator to carry out the operation, the arithmetic operation that we want. So my if loop will now be inside this if loop. Whatever condition that I have to give, that will be inside this one now. So what I will write is, if my choice is equal to 1, if the choice given by the user is equal to 1, what I want is I want print a, that is it will print the value of a, what is whatever the user has given. Then I will write plus because we want to add it. So plus sign will be represented as it is. Then I will enter the value of b. So whatever value of b the user gives, that will be printed there. And then let's say I want another sign as equal to. So what output will be? Output will be the value of a that user gives. Let's say I define the value of a as 10 and b as 20. So the output will be 10 plus 20 is equal to. Now here I have to call my function. So whatever my function was. So if the choice of user is 1, the function that I have to call is add, that we have already defined here. Addition. So it is addition. So now keep this thing in mind. Whatever the name of your function is, you have to write the name as it is. Otherwise, it will give you an error. So here I have to write addition, and then I will say or give the parameter that is x and y. But here the numbers are a and b. Right? Now what happens is, don't get confused that here we have given x and y, but here we have defined as a and b. What happens is, this thing won't matter whether it is x and y or a and b. What this x and y just represents is that whatever function you are defining, that will be dependent on two parameters. That's it. It doesn't actually want you to give any particular values to x and y, because those things you are carrying out here when you have defined a and b. So this basically means that your condition that you are defining, the function that you are defining, it has to be dependent on two variables, and these are the return value that your function will provide you, right? So this is your first thing, and then you can provide your different conditions, saying that elif if your choice is equal to 2, and then you will write print the same way. Let me just copy this whole thing here, and this will have print, and then here you can just write a minus sign and change the function name. So it will be subtraction, and then another condition saying elif the choice is equal to 3, then print it. Here it will be multiplication, and then change the name of your function as mult. So just check the name as well, mult. So mult, and then the last condition will be your else condition, and you will just write print this one, and here I can write divide, and here it will be divide. Right. And then you can just check whether you're running fine or not. So what happens here is, so the first thing that the Python gives you is select operation that we already defined it, and it provides you with 4 options. The first is addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So I have to enter a choice. Let's say I want to add 2 numbers, so I'll give 1 and I press enter, and it asks me to enter the first number. Let's say I write the first number as 10 and second number as 50, let's say. So it will give me 10 plus 50 is equals to 60. Now here, see here, I have the output that I got is in the form of a float number, right? So because that makes sure that even if you want to add a decimal number with an integer number, then also you can get a right number here, right? And now you can see, once it provides you the final output, the program doesn't break out, because it's still asking you, thinking that maybe user wants again to like do the arithmetic problems. So it doesn't break the equation there, it doesn't break the calculator there. It is still asking you to give any choice. Let's say we go for subtraction. So I enter the choice as 2. It will again ask me for number, let's say 50, and let's say I write it 20. So it will give me answer is 30. It's still again asking me the same thing. So I'll write 3 this time. Let's say do multiplication, 10 and let's say 20. it gives me 200. And let's say we do division as well, let's say 150, so it will give me 2. Now, so but this keeps on going again and again, right? Because you haven't given a condition saying that if this is the final output, close the calculator. You haven't given that. So for that, what you can do is you can just write a break condition after every condition that you have given here. Let's say I write it break here, and then break here, break here, and break here as well. So what it will does is it will only calculate your answer for just one particular equation. So after doing one arithmetic problem, it will break the calculator. Let's say I write it 1, and then I enter my first number as, let's say, 10, and then 15, and after that, you see it breaks the calculator. It doesn't ask me for again, it doesn't ask me for to give me a choice, or it's not asking me for any other type of choices. So it breaks the calculator here. So in this way you can do it. And the next option now, so this is a basic thing that goes on with the software thing. So this is how you build your software. Now once this is done, there is a particular chip that also comes out, which you can, okay, okay, sure, no issues. I'll do one thing. I'll just save the code, and I'll store it in my assignment problem, and I can upload it on the GitHub account. You can access it from there, okay? Or I'll upload the codes like a .py file in my GitHub account, and you can just copy the codes from there. But what I'll recommend is try to do it from your own way, or twitch some of the parameters here according to your need. And you can just play around with your codes here, see what different kind of things can like give you the final output, all those things, okay? So is this clear with everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we'll also quickly just look at one or two more things as we are running short on time. I'll just also show you what you can do using some functions which are inbuilt in Python. Now there are certain packages that come inbuilt with Python. For example, there's a package called as NumPy, which basically includes all type of arithmetic problems you want to do. You just have to call those packages. So in order to call a package, what you want to do is you write a function called as import. That means you are importing a package followed by the name of the package. Let's say I want to import NumPy. So it imports a package of NumPy, and then whatever arithmetic problem you want to do, you can do it in this way. Like just call those package and do everything. So what Python will does is first it will go and check whether those arithmetic problems that you want to do are that particular arithmetic problems or the conditions, are they present in this NumPy package. If it is present in that NumPy package, it will give you the output result. Now, sometimes what happens is people can write some arithmetic functions which are actually not present in this package. And at that time, Python will give you an output error saying that this particular function is not included in this package. So then you can't import this package. Then there's no profit in you to import this package and run something. In a similar way, there is another package called as Matplotlib. What Matplotlib basically includes is it includes all type of graphical things you want to do. Let's say you have your answers ready with you or your output ready with you, and you want to print a graphical output of those things. It can be line graph, bar graph, scatter plot, whatever it is. So for that, you can import this like Matplotlib. And there's a way to import all these things. So sometimes you can see that people write import as import NumPy. You can just write it as it is. But what happens is when you're accessing these packages, you have to write the name as it is. Okay. So what people do is they try to import it in a very short form. So what a universal way of importing NumPy is, people write it as import NumPy as NP. What this means is you have to import the package NumPy. You're asking Python की भाई NumPy package को import करो और किस name से import करेगा वो NP के name से. So now what happens is whenever you run your program, you will just write NP, and Python will understand that okay, by NP user means NumPy. Okay. So in a similar way, there is another package in Python called as calendar. Okay, which allows you to build a calendar for yourself. So what we can do is we can just write import calendar, and let's say we want to define a year and a month, which will be user defined. So let's say I write YY for my year, right? And it will be an integer value. So I'll write int input, I'll write enter year, and then similarly I'll write for month, I'll write int, and then input and enter month. And then what I can do is I'll just write print, and now I'll write calendar dot month. Now what this particular code here means is whatever package package that I imported here, I'm running the same package as here. What this particular line of code here means is, now you have defined the year and month, which will be defined by the user. Now, where do you actually want this year and month to be like calculated from? So you want these two values or these two variables to be entered into the package calendar. So that's why you're importing, you have imported calendar, and then you have to write it, which package you want. So you write calendar dot month. So calendar dot month, what this function basically does is it will give you an output of a particular month. It will give you a grid type of thing, like a square type of thing, whereby you in the topmost level you have your month written as followed by the year, and then Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and followed by all of the days. So when I print it, you can see how the output you will get. So it says enter year. Let's say I write 2020. Then it asks me enter the month. Let's say I write September 09. So it gives me a calendar in this form. So here there's September 2020, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it provides me all the days today. So today is 24th, which is Thursday, right? Now sometimes you can even like play around with these codes. Let's say what we do is we write it year here instead of month. We write year. So once you run it, you see there is an error here. Once you run it, there will be an error. Let's say we write enter year 2020 and month has 09. Once you print it, there is an error saying module calendar has no attribute here. What this means is the package that you're importing calendar, it doesn't actually has anything called as year. It doesn't has anything like that. So if you call this particular function here, Python doesn't understand this. It says, okay, the package that you are importing, it doesn't have anything called as dot year, right? So that's why it has given you an attribute error, meaning whatever attributes are there inside your whole package. So calendar is a package, and there are certain attributes or we can say keywords that you can call out. So those are also termed as attributes. So that's why it has given you an attribute error. So dot year has no meaning in calendar package. So what you can do is just write month, and you can just write it print it here, enter any kind of, let's say 1990. I enter, oh sorry, 1990, and let's say April, and it will give me the April month of 1990, right? So in this way you can access individual calendar as well. Okay, so is this clear with everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So okay, it's almost time today. So what I'll do is I will upload some of my codes as well for like the calculator and these things in the form of .py version. You can, if you want, you can use those codes from there as well, just to understand how everything is functioning. But what I would recommend is first see the codes, try to understand it, and try to do it in your way. There will be some errors out there, so it will be easier for you to understand what kind of errors you are getting. Okay. And also I will be uploading the assignment, which will be including the loops as well as the application portions of the Python programming. Okay, and whatever doubts you have, you can just like ping me on WhatsApp, and I'll like try to clear all of your doubts there as well. And from tomorrow onwards, we will be starting with BioPython. So what I want you guys is just download BioPython. So what you can do is, to download BioPython, just go to Google and write BioPython, and whatever the first link is, it's here. You can directly download it from here. There will be a .winrar file type of thing is also there. Just go to downloads. You can either you can download it directly from your pip command. Go to Windows PowerShell. You can directly download it from there. But what I would recommend is go here. There's a zip file. Download this zip file, and then wherever you have installed, once you download it, extract it where you have installed your Python folder. Okay, wherever in your C drive you have installed your Python, just go and install your BioPython there. We will see how you can access BioPython in a PyCharm folder tomorrow. Okay, is this clear?
Okay, sir.